What's going on, guys? Matt here. So today I am so excited to be looking at the Cold Steel AD15 Lite. Many of you guys are familiar with this design. Maybe you're familiar with the full-on AD15 version, but today we are looking at the AD15 Lite by Cold Steel Knives. Now we are going to get into some size comparisons, talk about the specs, what I like, what I dislike, and something unique. But first, let's talk about the history of the AD15 design. So AD15 is designed by a knife maker named Andrew Demko, AD, who worked with Cold Steel for a long time, designed a lot of their most renowned knives, but he also had his own shop. And he made custom knives through that shop. Very expensive, very high-end, very nice knives. One of those designs was the AD15. And a few years ago, it might have been 2019, maybe 2020, he came out with a production line and licensed it out to Cold Steel to produce the AD15. That came out with S35 steel, G10 handle scales, and it was kind of a premium version, a premium production version, you could say, of his custom knife. So a couple years after that, or maybe just the year after that, I don't know the timeline exactly, they produced the AD15 Lite. Similar, really very similar style, just with a little bit less premium materials. And it really caught on. This has been a really, really popular knife for Cold Steel. And I love it. I think it's a fantastic knife. I know I'm kind of spoiling it, but we'll get into why I like it so much and the things I don't like about it. But first, let's do some size comparisons real quick. So let's compare it to another Cold Steel. One of the favorites here on the channel, the Spartan. So this is an XL knife, right? This is a full-size knife. It's still pretty large, has a kind of a bigger handle for a knife this size. But you know, this is an XL knife. So you can see it's not quite in that kind of XL range. Let's look at something else kind of in the same size comparison. Let's look at, I just got this in the mail as well, the CJRB. I don't know which model this is. Let me know in the comments. I can't remember. But they were having this crazy sale on Amazon. It was like 28 bucks. This has those jade G10 liners. Really pretty knife. And this one's in D2, not their AR RPM 9 steel, which I really like. But, you know, D2 is still a very good steel as well. So you can see similar length of blade, right? But that handle has a good bit more to it. So it's a full-size knife, but it's kind of branching into that larger knife size. Let's look at another knife of a similar size, Kershaw Blur. A little bit smaller on that one. All right. Let's do one more. I just got this in the mail yesterday, actually, and man, do I love it. Guys, let me know in the comments if you've heard or used of Joker knives. I was just turned on to them by the Gideon's Tactical channel on YouTube, and man, this thing is so cool. This is a Spanish-produced fixed blade. It's made of Bowler N695, which is very similar, like VG10. This is the Joker Lynx. Polished micarta handle scales, just a really pretty knife, and comes with a really nice leather sheath. Very, very well made. So yeah, check out Joker Knives if you're looking for kind of a bushcraft knife. Okay, let's talk about the specs on the AD15 Lite real quick. So we're looking at 6.2 ounces on this blade, and you know we're gonna take out the handy dandy, really, really inexpensive Amazon scale and see if we can get this. Let's see, let's change it from grams, kilograms. What do we want? We want ounces, don't we? There we go. There we go, 6.2, right? So 6.2 ounces, not a super light knife, right? This is a 3.5-inch blade. That's not exactly what I'd consider light. Okay, we're looking at a 5-inch handle, relatively large handle, 3.5-inch blade, so 8.5 inches overall. This is made of Austin steel. If you want the premium version, the standard AD15, you'd be getting S35 with a G10 handle scale. And this instead has Zytel. This has the Scorpion lock, which let me demonstrate this real quick. So there is a bar. Can you see that right there? And there's that divot right there. So when this pivots around, that slots into that divot right there. And so then you pull it out with your finger and it's able to slide open. Really interesting lock. I think it's really creative. Well done, Demko, on this Scorpion lock design. To pick this up, boy, does it vary, but right now it seems like around 80 bucks is the standard price. I got it on a really good deal, around 60, and you know, they go anywhere from like 60 to 100. So let's talk about what I like about the AD15 Lite. So I really love the novelty of this knife. It's just different, right? It's unlike a liner lock. It's unlike, your back lock, like the tri lock is a type of back lock. It's just a very unique knife, and it's very fun to play with. Most of us, knife guys, we do use our knives. Like you can see, this thing's been pretty well used, already sharpened once, only had it like a month and a half. But it's fun. It's fun to play with and to pivot around with. And so it has like a novelty to it. When you show it to someone, they're like, oh, wow, that's, not a traditional pocket knife. So I really appreciate kind of how unique this knife is. Another thing I really love is the feel of this knife. So that goes along with the handle. So this is a very comfortable handle. You guys know I have really chunky hands, not very long fingers. But the handle, really plenty of room for me. No issues on the handle at all. It's just very comfortable, contoured nicely. It does have a finger groove, but that finger groove is really big enough to accommodate, I would think, any hand. So good handle, very comfortable, and it feels like a nice knife, which I was honestly surprised at. We'll talk about that in a little while. Another thing I really like is the jimping. A lot of times Cold Steel kind of half-heartedly does their jimping. They just, this doesn't even have any. There's some little slots right there. I don't know what that's for, right? That's not jimping, guys. But like the AD10 has jimping, but it's just on the scale. It's not even on the spine of the, the lock back. So really well done on that jimping. It's not too sharp, but it really allows you to dig your finger in there if you needed more traction. So I also love this design drop point blade. Now, I think what really, really draws me to it is that little cutout right there. It has kind of that clipped back right there. And so instead of just a flat spine right there, you get a little bit of a design element. And I think it just adds to the look of it. It doesn't really do much. It might lighten it up a little bit. But I think that it looks so, it looks so striking, So I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that belly that blade has. All right. Let's go with last thing. So I really like AUS 10 steel, especially in this price range. I think that it's a really good working steel. And for under $100, AUS 10 and a folding knife with this design, good to go. Good to go. I really appreciate that. So let's talk about what I don't like. So there's a couple of things, and they're not huge things, but I do want to mention them. So I think people have probably brought this up. You can see the pivot on this blade, right? And so the pivot is a big circular pivot, and it kind of rolls around right here, and it sticks out in the handle, right? You can see that shine right there. So that sticks out right there. Now, when I'm carrying it and when I'm holding it, it's really comfortable, and honestly, I don't even notice it at all. It's really not a big deal. But it just doesn't, it feels like something was overlooked in the design. Now, in thinking about like the physics on how this works, I'm not sure it would work if that was cut out right there, right? If there was like a little cutout right there, it might not work at all. So they may have had to have designed it that way for it to actually function correctly. I'm not quite sure, but it's just something I don't really like. I don't really like the look of it. It kind of feels like an oversight. So what else do I don't like? So just one more thing. The clip carries pretty darn high, especially for a knife that has this big old aluminum piece right here. This is part of the lock bar, and this is, I believe, yeah, it feels like aluminum, but that much is sticking out of your pocket. That's a lot, right? Let's look at the CGRB. That much is going to stick, you can't even see it. That much is going to stick out of your pocket, right? Same thing with this, Spartan, just that much is going to stick out, which is not a small amount, but it also doesn't have a huge aluminum backspacer. So that's just a lot to stick out of your pocket. So I would have liked a little bit deeper of a carry of a clip, but again, not the end of the world. Guys, I'll be honest, before we get into what I think is unique about this blade, I wasn't super excited about this design. I wasn't super excited about the AD15. I thought it was cool, but it wasn't something I wanted to spend. They usually go about $130, $140. And I wasn't excited enough to spend that cash on it. When I saw this for around $60, I was like, okay, I'll be able to review it and kind of give you my thoughts. But when I saw Lite, without kind of looking too much into the materials, I was like, okay, this thing's going to feel cheap. It's not going to feel like it's put together well. The moment I got this out of the box, I was completely proven wrong. This feels like such a quality knife, and I think it is a quality knife. The Zytel feels sturdy. It does not feel hollow or plastic, partially because it's backed up by either steel or aluminum liners. This aluminum backspacer, or this aluminum backlock bar, I guess you could call it, really sturdy. Feels very well made. Blade, fantastic. Austin, great steel, especially for a budget steel. You guys can see, it's dirty and sharpened, and I've used this. That's how much I've loved this. I've just used this a ton. And so I was just so proven wrong about this knife. And this is what I want to see from Cold Steel, right? I want to see them going to knife makers who have thought and they have artistry, and they put it into these knife designs, and you get something like this that's unique and it's still really functional. Great blade, really strong lock. It's just, that's what I want to see from Cold Steel. I don't want to see GSM putting the Cold Steel logo on these cheap Chinese machetes that are in Walmart, which, yes, many of you guys have seen, and I have seen as well. So I want to see more of this from Cold Steel. And Cold Steel, if you're watching this, pursue those knife designers who are looking to innovate and do something different and do something cool and fun that people will really appreciate, right? So I just want to get that out of the way. I was proven completely wrong. Fantastic blade. I love this thing. What's unique about it? You're getting a Demko design, really a custom design knife for a production price. Even if you spend $120, $140 on the full-on AD15 version, you're getting S35, G10. It's a premium knife with a custom design, and I just think that's so cool. I know that Andrew Demko has kind of parted ways with Cold Steel, is doing his own thing, and I think that's awesome. But I am glad that he was able to get this out to us who, maybe don't want to spend $500, $600, $700 on one of his custom pieces. And I just adore this thing, and I'm going to keep on carrying it. So that's what's unique about it. If you couldn't tell, I absolutely recommend it. Fantastic job, Cold Steel. I want to see more of this stuff from you guys. Guys, remember to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you want to see reviewed coming up, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.